If you're new to this channel, we're James and Sarah, also known as The Whole World or Nothing.
We used to be full-time backpackers, exploring the world and writing about our travels on our blog.
And then the world changed.
We got repatriated from Peru and found ourselves back in the UK at a loose end. So we decided to do a van conversion.
Make sure you hit subscribe now so you can join us in this series as we share the highs and many lows of converting an old Mercedes Sprinter panel van into our dream home on wheels.
Next job is to put sound deadening on the panels because quite a lot of them are a bit noisy. They're quite large. The sound deadening just acts to stop all the noise, vibrations and stuff like that when you're actually driving along. And also I think it will help with things like rain.
We've got 30 sheets, haven't we, so we need to cut them up and just kind of space them out. They're going to be alright like that, do you think?
Yeah, so that cuts pretty easily, right, with the Stanley knife?
Yeah, it's just straight through. No bother.
After cutting up the sound deadening sheets, we decided to do a quick sound test to see if we'd actually be able to notice a difference once we stuck them on.
So we're doing the test now then?
Yeah. It's pretty loud.
Yeah, it is, but the thing is, you can't really do a proper scientific test because, you know, that's how I'm knocking, but then when I've stuck that on, I might knock louder or softer, do you know what I mean?
Well then don't.
Really, it's hard to measure.
It'll be a different sound anyway, I think that's the point.
Oh, okay, alright. Ideally, you're supposed to cover about 50% or more of your van's vibrating surfaces for the best results. But this stuff is seriously heavy. So to keep weight down, we decided to try and place the sheets strategically in places we thought would rattle the most.
They're really easy to stick on, and then you just smooth them down with a rolling tool. Next it was time for round 2 of the sound test.
Okay, let's test it. Sound different?
I think that sounds pretty good, yeah. Can definitely tell the difference.
It's just not like vibrating, is it, like it was before? It's like dead.
It's a much deeper tone, yeah.
Yeah.
Dead.
The whole point of it. So what's the plan this morning, Stan?
Today we are going to be doing some insulation. So I think the first job is to tape up these wheel arches with a vapour barrier. What a vapour barrier does is to stop moisture getting in between the inner side of your van and the outer skin of your van. It's like when you get into a car and it's cold weather outside and your breath is warm, the inside of the car is cold. So when you breathe out, that then causes a condensation on your windows, and that's what makes them steam up. So a similar thing can happen in your van if you don't put a vapour barrier in. So what we're going to do is seal the insulation in against the metal skin of the van, and hopefully that means that nothing will get in between that. And the reason you don't want moisture in there is for rust. It's going to deteriorate your van really quickly. So the idea is that everything that we do now at this stage, we line with this stuff, which means that no moisture can get either in from the outside of the van or in from the inside of the van.
We're not insulating the wheel arches, so we're just going to put the Reflectix, that's what it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Vapour barrier straight onto the top of that, and then we'll get going with the insulation on the walls.
What we will do with the wheel arches though is insulate them afterwards. So on the wheel arches we're going to have wheel arch covers, which are going to be wooden boxes that we're going to place on top. And in that we'll stuff them with the plastic insulation that we've got that can just stuff in there and that can act as its own insulation.
The reason we chose this approach for the wheel arches was because there are no cavities to insulate, but done correctly, this method is a really effective workaround.
Wheel arch boxes done, we moved on to cutting the first piece of insulation for the walls.
Does it fit?
No, but we didn't expect it to because we haven't rounded off the corners, so we need to round off the corners. These panels are slightly angled inwards as well, like that, so we need to slightly angle it, but we're going to have to trim it down I think a couple of times probably, and then squeeze it in. It's better bigger than smaller.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's fine.
We've got to give it a shave. quick trim and it fitted all right. It's so windy. Because these things are so light, they just try to escape all the time as well. And all the little polystyrene bits are blowing off all over the neighbourhood. And by the way, this is a electric kitchen knife that we're using. We saw on YouTube that it was the best thing to use. Like, a lot of people use them to cut the insulation because you need to cut it at an angle. And we were like, really? So we tried loads of other different things. We tried a saw, like a big saw, a hacksaw, a bread knife, and it turns out this definitely is the best thing. So let's see who's going to cut the best one.
Well, I think that's a bit unfair considering I did the first one. We didn't know what we were doing. And now we've got a better idea. But yeah, let's see.
For some reason, Sarah was really confident that her panel would fit first time.
So the moment of truth. Let's see it then.
Yeah, perfect.
Straight in?
Yeah.
Is that the right way up even?
It's not perfect at all. He's nowhere near. Oh my gosh.
Are you sure it's not upside down?
Maybe. Oh yeah, that's better. But it still does it. So no one wins.
No one wins?
No.
So tell me about this.
Oh, it's just a bit small. There's a big gap at this side. Well, it's too big here.
Yeah.
And there's a big gap at this side.
Okay.
So I don't know what we're going to do now.
There's quite a large gap at this side as well.
I think I cocked up the measurements.
So who wins?
Well, it's not finished yet.
I think we need to start being a bit more realistic about how much we can actually get done in a day. Things are starting, or they're taking a lot longer than we imagined that they ever would. So we were hoping to get most of the installation done today, but we've actually only cut out 2 panels and a bit of a third panel. So we've got a few more to do, and we haven't even started on the floor.
The thing is, the van's not like a square shape. So anything that you're trying to cut is on an angle. We don't have any idea until you start doing it. You have to cut a bit off, cut a bit off, cut a bit off, keep trying it, and it just takes forever. We have seen this in other videos.
We have, it's not just us.
No, it's not. But you kind of just think it can't be that hard when you look at it, because you're just cutting something to put in a space and then it don't fit.
The insulation that we are using for the large panels is this Recticel. It's also called Celotex or Kingspan in some places. It's pretty much the same stuff, I believe, but it's just got different brand names, different companies that make it. For the floor, we've gone for 25mm thick, and that's because less heat will escape from the floor. Obviously, heat rises. And then for the walls and for the ceiling, we have gone for 50mm thick to hopefully stop some of that heat getting out. But for the bits that are a little bit more fiddly, because we've got all of these cavities around the van that you just couldn't get bored into, we're using this, which is a recycled, I think it's made from recycled bottles, and it's just like loft insulation, but it's not itchy, it won't irritate your skin, so it's really good stuff, and it's got about the same thermal properties as the insulation board, so we're not losing anything by using it, but it just means that you can stuff it into all the little cavities and the spaces where it is really quite difficult to get the board.
While Sarah tried to figure out a better way of measuring and shaping the boards, I started filling out the smaller cavities.
The third panel that we cut yesterday was more or less the right size, right?
It's an absolute disaster.
It was just completely the wrong shape. Because there's something that we've learned about these panels, and it's that they are at all different angles. There's just strange stuff going on with them, different depths, so it's quite difficult to get the actual bits of insulation board right, isn't it?
Yeah, and the panels that we took off, obviously the van was panel lined, but they were like full width, so they just went all the way up, so we haven't got like a template or anything to use to cut out, which is Well, we're trying to make one at the minute, but we haven't got a big enough piece of card, so we're making out of paper, which is quite flimsy. I'm not sure it's going to work. We'll give it a go.
So this is the bit that we hacked up yesterday. You can see there's a massive gap down there, it doesn't even fit in the bottom. At the top here it's just an absolute mess. And then there's quite a large gap down in that corner as well. So we're going to repurpose it for the ceiling probably. So it's not a complete waste, but just a little bit annoying, right?
Yeah, I mean we can cope with like probably a gap about that big. Like we can fill it with the foam and stuff, but it's just too big.
Does it fit?
Well, it will do. We
It
just
looks
need
like
to
there's a little bit
cut
missing
these bits out.
in
Where?
that corner.
Oh.
Well, that's looking a bit more panel shaped.
Yeah, well, a bit of tape's come off now. I need 3 hands. Oh
Hey.
shit.
Third time lucky, right?
Yeah. I think it's about 30th time lucky actually. But
How are we looking?
I don't know, you'll have to try with your hands as well. Because I can't see bottom.
Looks good to me. Sod's law, eh?
Why is it always raining? There isn't even any clouds out, like.
Just got the template done. All drawn out nicely on the insulation board, and it starts raining. That is typical British weather for you. In fact, it looks like blue skies over there, but I've just looked out the front of the van and it's definitely grey, so probably worse to come. And we need to go outside and cut this thing, so that's why we're not very happy about it. I'll tell you what, I have no idea how people do these conversions in winter, which is when most people actually do them, so they can use them that summer. Because this is the middle of summer, this is like early July, and it's just absolutely pissing it down. So we've had to come inside. We're having to actually cut the board inside. Because we have to close the doors because I've got insulation in there that's getting wet now, so that's the last thing that you want. So this is good, this is good. So how's it looking?
It's looking alright actually.
Yeah.
Much better than the last one.
That's good.
The top's fine.
Okay.
And this side is fine, might need a little bit off there. And then just needs a bit off the bottom here in this corner.
Cool. So a lot better than the last one.
Yeah, definitely.
Template works.
Use a template. One thing to remember if you get a Sprinter to convert is these panels, they're not rectangle, they're like a trapeze shape. So when you measure them, you think, oh yeah, bang on, rectangle, fine. And it looks like a rectangle like when you're looking at it. But ever so slightly, you'll end up with a gap at each side, the top and the bottom of each side, because you need to cut it like that, basically. But this side's working out a lot better because we've been able to use those as a template, and then where there's the gap, draw that a bit larger. So hopefully this is going to fit alright. Or not. So yeah, it's very fiddly. I had to shave loads off, but it fits, and much better than the other side. There's no massive gaps this time, so pretty happy with that.
Good job. Let's get them stuck on.
Let's do it. Once we had all the wall panels cut out, it was time to secure them to the walls of the van. We used a basic spray adhesive and they flew up pretty quickly.
Okay. So these are on. Looking pretty good, what do you reckon?
They look good, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to come together.
So what next? We need to...
We've got to put spray foam around the edges because obviously they're not perfect by any means.
We read the instructions on the spray foam, did a little dance and started squirting. This stuff is great for filling in any gaps, and it also helps secure the panels in place.
finished them. It's really difficult to control this stuff. It just like comes out a little bit and then all of a sudden it'll just go.
Yeah, I think it was hard as well in that bit because there were some gaps that were large enough to get the nozzle in, but then there were some that were quite thin.
Yeah.
So hopefully the foam expands both ways.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, it didn't actually matter. It was better that there was a bigger gap than a smaller gap.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have really worried about making sure they were really cut to size.
Yeah, we tried pretty hard to get the insulation board to fit snugly, and then, well, you just fill up the gap with that.
We'll end this week with those pearls of wisdom. Make sure you join us next week when we'll be battening out the floor, insulating it, and installing the ply subfloor.
And if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up and drop us a comment down below. And why not hit that subscribe button and click the bell button whilst you're down there so you get notified every time we post a new video.